I'm going to go into an article that I wrote nearly a decade ago now, 2016, where I pulled the micro data of the federal data with a guy named Matt Brunig, an economist. And we showed that without the family car, Black wealth barely exists. Large chunks of whites will inherit hundreds of thousands of dollars. Somewhere north of 30 to 35% of white families are worth more than $500,000, $600,000. There are 83 million white homes. So you got 20 million worth 600,000 or more. And 600,000 is nothing. While you got a grandma asking you for $75 because she can't get through the week. Okay. Okay. So what am I saying? What am I saying in numbers? Because this is Tone, you're not giving solutions. I don't understand. I'm confused. Well, I am giving you the solution. Just your mind don't comprehend it. And the solution is going to be that Black America will not have wealth when the boomers die. You can see it right here. So when you look at, let's look at, I have Q3 and I'll show that later. But Q2 2024 was the most recent. And what you see, just looking at where our wealth is held in real estate, which is primarily the boomers' homes, like the lady we saw before, and I'm going to play her again. And also is held in their pensions. The people who have pensions basically right now are already retired because they ended pensions. We didn't fight. They basically ended them in the 90s in large part, bar a few government jobs. So what you see is if we have in total about $5 trillion, we don't exist in private business. Go talk to Earn Your Leisure and pay them $1,200 and whatever if you want to be fooled and the chicanery to go around. But in reality, Black wealth, about $5 trillion, but a lot, like almost over 60, 70% of that is in boomer homes and their pensions and mutual funds. There it is.
All right, Shalom. This is the brother Nahalia from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah. And a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word, and all truth and in sincerity. This is Isaiah chapter 42 and verse 22. And it reads, "But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith restore." This is also Deuteronomy 28 and 44. And it reads, "He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail." All right, and I want to go into a lesson through the Spirit on what you just saw concerning Black wealth, you know, according to what the video said, but we know through the Spirit that we are Israelites, Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. All right, and when you go through that video, I haven't even finished all of it, but when you go through that video, you know, the reality of where we are as a nation of people begins to set in. Going back to the curses, all right, because this is a part of what the Lord said would happen to us as a nation of people. All right, I want to jump down to verse 47, and it reads, you know what, let me start at 46. And it reads, "And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever." And this is going into the curses. So you will be able to identify the Israelites by the curses if they were being disobedient. And as a nation of people, we have been disobedient to the 613 laws, statutes, and commandments. So the curses cover us and follow us wherever we go. All right, continuing, verse 47 reads, "Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee." All right, now as a nation of people, we have been destroyed. And that's why there's no need for a literal yoke of iron to be upon your neck. And what Tone Talks brings out oftentimes is that financially, as a nation of people, it's already checkmate. All right, you have to look past the covering cast of reality TV, of music videos, all right, of all of these things that we see on TV concerning TV shows like Meet the Blacks, where it shows a Jake family in a nice ass neighborhood, excuse my French. You have to remove the facade and look at the numbers. And that's what Tone Talks does. You know, and basically in that video, he was saying, what's the solution? There is no solution. You know, because he's going into how in Babylon the Great, which is America, the only way you survive is off of inheritance. We weren't taught that as a nation of people. Growing up, we were not taught that income and labor is not how you receive wealth. You know, even as a child, you know, you think that, you know, the only ways of true success is athletes, entertainers, you know, but there's another level of actual wealth. You don't gain wealth through labor. All right, you gain wealth through what is transferred from the generation of your family before you. Now, the scriptures talk about these things in plain, but our people have deviated from our culture and have adopted a culture that has really deceived our people into being robbed and spoiled and accepting of it. All right, I want to go here. So I'm going to go back to Isaiah 42, and I'm going to jump around this one. All right, verse 23 reads, who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned, for they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. And only the remnant are giving ear to this. Because when our people hear the rebuke, you know, beginning with our apostles and elders, they say, oh, that book is old, it's outdated, it's mythology. And because they don't see subprime loans in the scriptures, they think that, oh, yeah, this book don't have nothing to do with us. The Lord said we will be a people robbed and spoiled and hidden in prison houses. Now, because our people see on TV this showing off of wealth, whether it's music videos or the athletes with the diamond chains around their neck while they on at the press conference, you know, or these TV shows where our people live in a fantasy world with shows like Bill Cosby back in the day and Meet the Browns and these Tyler Perry shows that show Jake living good, you know, those are facades. When you look at the actual numbers, it's already checkmate. And the reason I say that through the spirit is because even with the so-called white man, their wealth really goes back to, when you look at the recent wealth, it really goes back to the baby boomers. You know, the wealth that they were able to pass down, all right, they're going to give to the next generation of Edomites. Meanwhile, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans don't have that same type of reality. We're not even taught as a nation of people growing up that your parents, your grandparents are supposed to fund your life, not the other way around. You know, Jake wakes up in a world and is born into a world where you're in the negative. Whereas the average Edomite family, they wake up into a world where their parents and their grandparents are going to leave them an inheritance. And we're taught in the world growing up, you look around you, you're taught in the world growing up that this is some, you know, this is some rare situation. For the so-called white man, it's common. You know, the way Babylon the Great, which is America, is set up, is set up for wealth to be passed down. It's not set up for wealth to be spent on the elderly. That's not how it's set up. All right. And this is why you have a situation where no matter what Jake achieves on this side, you're basically in a family that doesn't have any wealth. You're robbed and spoiled as a nation of people. And because our people don't look at us as a nation, they look at themselves as individuals. They don't really understand how bad it actually is for us as a people, man. This is what the worst case scenario looks like. Not only are our people robbed and spoiled, but our people don't even have their heritage. So they're walking around poor and afflicted and calling themselves colors out the crayon box in Latin proverbs and bywords. All right, this is Isaiah 42 and 25. And see, this is why our elders and our apostles talk about this being the worst captivity. Because not only are we poor and afflicted, we've been poor and afflicted in other captivities. But our people don't even realize the situation that we're in as a nation of people. Because they're fed lies through TV shows and music that we're actually richer as a nation of people than we actually are. Some slide through the cracks. But when you go through a video like Tone Talks, reality begins to set in. That whole one family member's rich and it pulls everybody up is completely unrealistic. And then you have Jakes that wake up with this delusion. All right. They're born into a world and they have this delusion that they're going to save their family out of poverty. That's not how it works, man. That's not how it works. Wealth is transferred from one generation to another. That is generational wealth. Generational wealth isn't started in one generation. It's passed down. And we're not taught that as a nation of people. And the ones who use that word amongst our people are the ones who are selling you false hope. Some of our people slide through the cracks, but the reality is that you judge the quality of your people by the average. The average income of the average so-called white household is around, the average wealth is around $250,000. All right, now for the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the average wealth is around $30,000, and that's not including, all right, debt. So when you look at it from that standpoint, the scriptures begin to make more sense. And our people don't look from a zoomed out perspective. So our people assume, oh, because I'm straight, all right, everybody else is straight. And that's just not the reality, man. You know, Jake walking around with this mindset, yeah, I'm just going to grind and chase the bag and then all my problems will go away. That's not how wealth works. Wealth doesn't work through labor and income. It works through what's being passed down. Now, our inheritance on the right-hand side is spiritual at this point. We don't have a physical inheritance in this society. Our inheritance is through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. And that's why we have to wait for Yahweh Shema Shai to deliver us from this current state. Because without the Lord, you know, our people have this plan of, you know, what these Hebrew Israelites talking about, that don't make sense. You know, that ain't going to happen. You know, we can build ourselves up, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Well, if you look at the numbers, there is no solution. They talk about we need to stick together as a community. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. But when you look at the paperwork, the wealth is already in stone. The little bit our people do have, all right, it's going to take hundreds of years to catch up, just to catch up, let alone get ahead. And this is assuming that our people put that money together. And this is why the Lord called our people sottish children and the Lord called our people blind. And our people don't realize the situation we're in as a nation of people. But guys like Tone Talk who live to look at the numbers, you know, he understands the situation we're in as a people, man. Now, his solution is to vote our way out, but that's not a solution either. And I'm bringing this out to show how it fits us concerning the scriptures. Matter of fact, let me do this. Let's go here. Yeah, you know, when we grow up, we never fathom, you know, because we grow up thinking that all of this shit is normal. Excuse my French. But it's not until somebody presents you with the actual numbers and not the facade of music videos and TV shows that you start to realize, oh, man, this is worse than I thought. You know, we didn't fathom that, oh, our grandparents are actually supposed to leave us something. Oh, our grandparents and our parents are actually supposed to fund us going to school. Not put a bunch of pressure on you to have a certain GPA to get scholarships. That if they did what was right, they would have at least something for you to build upon. That you're born into a world where you start off in the negative. Where you don't have anything to work with. Not an inheritance, not life insurance money. You have nothing to hold on to. You have nothing. And that's the average Negro, Latino, or Native American. It's a rare case that you have a Jake that got something passed down to them, whether it be insurance money or a house or whatever the case is. And what Tone Talks is showing is that if your family didn't do what was right during the baby boomer era, when they had that opportunity, that is a very high probability it's not going to look good for you and your family. And I'm talking about your auntie, uncle, whatever the case is. And the reason I'm bringing this out is because our people don't believe in Yahweh Shema Shah concerning the curses and the solution that the Lord has in store. But what Tone Talks is saying is when you look at the numbers, there is no solution. It is checkmate. You just have to live it out. All right. This is Haggai 1:3. Then came the word of the Lord by Haggai the prophet, saying, Is it time for you, O ye, to dwell in your sealed houses, and this house lie waste? Now therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Ye have sown much, and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Go up to the mountain and bring wood, and build a house, and I will take pleasure in it, and I will be glorified, saith the Lord. Ye looked for much, and lo, it came to little. And we brought it home, I did blow upon it. Why, saith the Lord of hosts? Because of mine house that is waste, and ye run every man unto his own house. And this is why the shepherds of our people, those who are put in these leadership positions, those who have these big platforms to talk to our people, they talk about things like generational wealth. And they're basically selling our people a dream. Go build your own sealed house. Whereas they see brothers on the highways and hedges and they regard it as a vain work. All right, this is Malachi 3:13. And the reason they regard it as a vain work is because they believe the hype. They believe you can actually have generational wealth in one generation. There's a saying in this world called old money. And that is money that is literally passed down or made generations ago. One ancestor in your family did what was right and managed it and passed it down. And now you are able to eat off the fruit of their labors. That is old money. And that is actually how life on earth is supposed to work. The generation before leaves something for the generation to come. Whereas it's upside down amongst our people. Jake is born into a family and they going to football practice early, going to basketball practice early. They got a studio in their bedroom, and all of that is for Jake having this mindset of, man, I gotta fix what's wrong with my family. Even though it's not your fault. You shouldn't be born into a family that don't have anything to give you. And our people don't look at these things and say, oh, man, it's because the Lord ain't with us. Because the Lord ain't put, y'all going to have subprime loans, debt. The Lord ain't say it like that. He said y'all just going to be poor and afflicted. The Lord gave the summary. We're living the details. All right, it's Deuteronomy 31:17. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured. And many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, are not these evils come upon us, because our God is not among us? And that's the conclusion that the elect arrive at. That these evils have came upon us because our God is not amongst us. We're in another man's land, so to speak, all right? Not speaking our original tongue, and we're poor and afflicted as a nation of people. And when you look at this on paper, there is checkmate as a nation of people. Now, some will fall through the cracks and they may be able to, get a basketball contract or a rap contract, or something like that. But that is not talking about the average. It's checkmate for the average Negro, Latino, and Native American family. It's checkmate. We're just living it out. Because our people don't want to hear the words of the Lord. They want to hear something smooth. But if the Lord don't get in front of this, all right, it doesn't look good for our people. And you can't turn the ship on a dime. You got our people saying, well, you know what? We just gotta stick together and do what? You don't own any resources. So at best, you have a little bit more than you have now, but we have been relegated as a nation of people to a servant class permanently. And that's what the data is showing when Tone Talks brings this stuff out. We're relegated to a permanent servant class. And this goes back to the curses, what the Lord told us. And instead of Jake taking heed, all right, they pull their shoulder and they're trying to figure it out with a real estate license or a CDL or getting an LLC and thinking that's going to fix everything in your family. And it may for one generation. And that's the best case scenario. But even King Solomon talked about what will the next generation do with the wealth that was built. All right, this is Deuteronomy 28 and 29. And it reads, "And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee." Because the other nations, they know our numbers. The so-called white man, he knows the numbers concerning us as a nation of people and the money, how much wealth our people have as a nation. The so-called white man knows. This may be news to some of our people, but he's known for a long time that when the baby boomers die, the so-called white man is going to get even more wealth. When you look at Edomites that are complaining on the internet right now, they're complaining because they haven't really received any of that baby boomer money yet. The baby boomers haven't died off, so they're still dealing with the economy we live in and the income in their own savings because they haven't yet received that inheritance that's going to be passed when the baby boomers die. But on paper, they're still more well off than the average Negro, Latino, or Native American. And our people have normalized this so much, they don't even realize these are curses. And that's why it's a bittersweet, because we do have this truth and understanding that this isn't going to continue forever. But when you look at it on paper, all right, it is bitter. You know, America goes back to bitter. And who is it bitter for? The Israelites. And at this point, the so-called white man has gotten so greedy, he's doing the same thing to his own people, which is going to mark sedition. All right, so I just wanted to spend some time through the spirit to go into this clip, you know, that I screenshotted from this Tone Talks. And I left the title so you can go through the whole thing. But it shows what the Lord said to be true, man. As a nation of people, we're poor and afflicted. Without the Lord getting in front of this, it is checkmate for our people as a nation. You know, our people have this facade, and we've been taught this facade. We've grown up with this facade. Now, all we got to do is make it to get you become a lawyer or you become a doctor, and all of your problems will go away. No. Even when you deal with the doctors and lawyers of the so-called white man, they have an inheritance. They're not paying back a bunch of student loans. More than likely, their family funded their ability to get an education to become a lawyer. They didn't have to go in debt for it to happen. And because we're not taught this, we don't understand how very different the life of our people are compared to the so-called white man. But when you look at the numbers don't lie. All right, matter of fact, let's get this. I'm going to jump down. Verse 33 reads, "The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed alway." All right. And every effort our people have done concerning building up Babylon the Great, which is America, you have nothing to show for it. And this is why our people talk about reparations, and reparations would be a righteous thing. Yet we understand the so-called white man is not going to give reparations, and he don't really have it to give anyway because of this country being so far in debt. But as a nation of people, all our contribution to building up Babylon the Great, we have nothing to show for it as a nation of people. And what Tone Talks is bringing out is that it's checkmate. That when you look past the Tyler Perry movies and shows and the music videos, that the reality is grim. And this is why the Lord said this. I'll end it with this. This is John chapter 10 and 10. And it reads, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. We don't know what living life is, let alone living it abundantly. Our people have made surviving look glamorous, or tried to. The Lord said he came to give us life and give it to us more abundantly. All right, and that's why we're waiting for a new heaven and a new earth wherein dwells righteousness through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, so with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rukakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwad, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.